It's a hello and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Sim Racing Collective GT3 Series here on Assetto Corsa Competizione. We're here in the UK and at the most famous club circuit in the entire country. We're here at Brands Hatch, a fantastic venue to host the halfway point of season number 2 of this championship. We have two 25-minute races in store, one of which, as we can see now for race 1, is a reverse championship order start. Something that is very spicy indeed, something to really bring a little bit of extra pizzazz to the championship. We've had our two first rounds at Barcelona and Misano, two fantastic races, and of course last time out we had a bit of drizzle, had a bit of rain, something to bring quite the spectacle to the second round. And of course it was Nicholas Alvarado that took victory ahead of Bailey Thompson and Sir Smoggy, who completed the podium. And at the moment at the top of the championship, because of drop rounds, Derek Sun and Nicholas Alvarado both tied on 30 points. Jack Southfield rounds off the top 3 with Bailey Thompson, I should say, only a point back on him in 4th. Sir Smoggy rounds off the top 5 with 20 points. But as we approach the start of race number 1, we really do have to throw ourselves back into the deep end, because we don't have qualifying until after this one. To then set the grid for the second 25-minute race. But yeah, welcome into the chat. We hope you are all well. It will be myself, Zach Sweeney, to talk you through all of the action here on the JP Broadcasting YouTube channel. And of course, we do thank everyone for being involved, coming here, racing, watching along in the YouTube chat. And if you are watching along, do definitely get involved. Do chat along. Give me something to sort of feed off. Let me know your predictions, how you're feeling as we progress through the race. But that's besides the point. We are ready to go green for the formation lap here at Brands Hatch. As I say, one of the UK's favourite club venues, hosting a variety of different series. You know, the likes of the British GT, I believe the GV4s came here at some point. I'm pretty sure they did. And of course, you know, you've got the likes of British Storm Cars and things like that coming here all of the time. Just general track days as well. There is a lot to be sort of unfolded when you come to Brands Hatch, because it's such an undulating circuit, such a tricky circuit, as we say, club style, very old, and not, you know, it's not modern at all. It's not really been modernized either. It's still got its classical feel, and still remaining that very tricky lack of runoff sort of feel that you get. And of course, while we're here on the full Grand Prix circuit, we don't cut off going into Clark Curve as you run here. If it was the Indy circuit, you just go straight on. But no, we do the full layout. We turn left here at Surtees, then down the Pilgrim's Drop towards Hawthorne. Talking you through the grid at the moment, it is Mohammed that will round off on pole position, with Courtney joining him on the front row. Then comes Van Vingeren and Davis 3 and 4. Velogia rounds off your top 5 with Davidson 6th. Then comes Veldman, Hamley, your 4th row of the grid with Tremondeley and Sir Smoggy. Your top 10, Bailey Thompson, Jack Southfield round off the 6th row of the grid with Derek Sun and Eric Larson, P13 and 14. Talking through the AMs, you've got Momada on pole position ahead of Wells, Rodriguez and Dempsey to round off your top 4 for the AMs. Then comes McClory, Marchinek, your top 20 overall, and of course the top 6 in the AMs. Then comes Tomasi and Lawford just in behind there. Then comes Brian, Torres, Jones and Marston to round off what we can see on the timing tower for the AM field. Of course, we have got a separated start, the pros, then the AMs, because if we were going off a complete reverse championship, we'd have the AMs on pole, and that is just not very productive at all, because it would be very chaotic, very a lot of carnage, particularly when we come to a venue like Brands Hatch, where it is going to be very, very tricky indeed. To make an overtake, you do have to be quite careful, and I think it is a good idea to bring the sprint format here so we can have a bit more of high-paced action as we run our way through. No pit strategies, of course. We will have to see how this race unfolds, how people tackle it, but it will be Mohammed that rounds off on pole position, ready to take the start. Courtney will be alongside as we get ready for race number 1. Rounding through the final corner here at Clark Curve then, as we say, Mohammed starts on the right-hand side on pole position. The inside as they run their way towards Paddock Hill Bend, one of the UK's most famous corners indeed. We get ready for the lights to come on, the lights to go out, and then we are underway for round number 3 of the Sim Racing Collective GT3 PC ACC Series here for season number 2. The Lamborghini starts the right-hand side, controlling the pace, waiting for the green light to go to signal us underway. Here we go, the green flag waves, and we're underway here in Brands match side by side between the Audi and the Lamborghini as they barrel their way towards Paddock Hill Bend. It is still Mohammed that leads from Courtney Van Wingerden and Davis running side by side as they head up Pilgrim's Rise towards Drew. As this right-hander hairpin, as you really have to break uphill, use the full extent of the track, and running side by side, 3 wide in the background, the Porsche of Davidson trying to get involved. There's the Tiger Racing of Volodya trying to retain that 5th place. The Estonian doing a fantastic job of just holding firm, holding position, and so far a clean start for the majority of the pros. In the background, you can see the top end of the AMs also running their way through as we round off the first sector of the circuit through Surtees and now down this back straight through Pilgrim's Shops and up towards Hawthorne. Not particularly the most inviting overtaking opportunity. There's Bailey Thompson doing a bit of rallycross. Of course, Brands Hatch does host a bit of that too, but this is GT3, my good sir. That is not what you want to be doing, trying to recompose himself quite quickly. There is one of the Porsches getting a little bit caught out. That might be Jim Hamling potentially, but you can see Thompson trying to just work his way through, pick his gap and commit to it through. They go through Westfield and then towards Dingledale and Sheens Curvy. Very tricky corner, blind through the right-hander. You do just have to trust the car's going to stick. And now Thompson, who of course did take 2nd place last time out at Misano, down in below a lot of the AMs. That big off did put him behind quite a number of cars that he's not even racing in the championship. He's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, I think, if my maths are right, or just 8. It's just 8 cars. Got a bit ahead of myself. Not trying to over-exaggerate it too much, but 8 cars to clear before he actually starts overtaking cars that will gain him more championship points. So going to be very, very tricky for him indeed, but don't forget he has got the 2nd race to try and recover from it. On board with Mormada, the AM leader at the moment. This is Derek Sun, the championship leader, don't forget, in the pros. Took victory first time out at Barcelona. Only took 13th place 2nd round in Misano, so he's already taken his drop round, and to get that 13th place back is not something he's going to want at all. Here's Bailey Thompson trying to clear his way through some of the AMs, already up past 5 of them, only 3 to go. Mormada, McCrory and Marcinek left for the number 37 Mercedes. What we see just in the background there between Tomasi and Skinner working their way through Pilgrim's drop towards Hawthorne's. Not quite going to run side by side there, choosing the better and safer option. Back towards the front of the pros, the fight for 5th rages on, and here comes Guillaume Hamling to the outside of Davidson, in towards Sheen. Oh my word, brilliant, brave and bold. How has he managed to do that and keep it clean? There comes the Dutchman and Nico Veldman to the inside now. This is of Sterling, the left-hander, where you can really use the camber of the circuit to carry the speed all the way through. Now in towards the final corner here at Clark's. The outside line is definitely not optimal for the Audi, but he's going to try it anyway as the track rises and dips away from you. Really got to try and predict where the grip's going to be, when it's going to be there as well. The Dutchman layer on the right-hand side of shot, the left-hand side of circuit as they head into the braking zone of Paddock Hill Bend. Around the outside goes Nico Veldman, going to try and keep it there, but Tom Davidson still giving a run for his money as they rise up the hill into the braking zone for Druids Bend. The Porsche still sending one back up the inside, still going to merge side by side as they dip back down towards Graham's Hill. And now Nico Veldman to the inside. Is he going to finally make this one stick? He's there at the apex first, but Tom Davidson with his foot around the outside, he might lose the momentum and might invite Sir Smokey, 3rd place at Misano, 5th place in the championship, to the inside of Surtees Bend now. Beached on the outside is the Porsche, going to try and keep him honest. Bit of rubbing and racing between the pair of them as they emerge still down this back straight. Tom Davidson trying his utmost and his absolute best to retain in 8th place, but in doing so all he's doing is losing time to the pack in front. Eric Larson also looming in the background. Around the outside goes Sir Smokey. Brilliant bit of racing from the Mercedes to catapult himself up into that 8th place. Now Eric Larson, Jack Southfield also trying to get themselves into the mix, but not on this particular occasion. They're going to have to bide and wait for another lap. I predict epic commentary and great racing. Fingers crossed. I try to deliver at least one of them. These guys have got to deliver the other. Can we get a replay of the 2090 death? I don't think so. We've never actually had replays. I think it's just more of an awkward situation in terms of ACC delivering that, but we get the live action. Here's Nico Veldman to the outside of Mohammed. Started on pole position, of course. Did the debutant, I believe, of Mohammed, I think, anyway. He, unfortunately, is only running in 7th place. Make that 8th, so Smokey can make this stick to the outside of Paddock Hill. He's going to make that one done indeed. Great bit of racing already on the defensive, maybe actually on the offensive versus Nico Veldman. You will have to apologise because at the moment I'm only seeing them entering Druids Bend. Not quite optimal in terms of some frame rates, but we are working with what we got. We'll try and sort that out as soon as possible. I think it's all good and sound on the broadcast, so that's all that matters. Through the left-hand row of Surtees, you can see Sir Smokey still trying his trying his luck in getting that overtake done. Just cut away from the Discord stream for just a second, so we will get back to the live action as soon as possible. Got the stream back up and now get onto it. We cut back and that is crystal clear. Lovely jubbly back into the live action then, and still on board with Sir Smokey. At the moment it is Courtney that leads the way from Van Vingden, and 2 seconds is the margin between the pair of them. Again comes Davis, Velogia and Hamling, your top 5. Here's the fight for 6th we're watching now. Nico Velman versus Sir Smokey, 2 cars that we saw go toe-to-toe last time out at Misano. Here's Velogia, the Estonian, trying to go to the outside of Davis in that Bentley. Home ground, of course, for the British manufacturer, the Team Ricky Monsters driver just in front. Now as they head themselves in towards Paddock Hill, there's the send from Hamling. What a move that is from the Lamborghini, catapulting himself up into 3rd place, 2 and 1. Goes a little bit wide on the exit of Paddock Hill over to the gravel trap, as then they head into the braking zone for the next right-hander here for turn 2 at Drew, as Velogia to the inside gets that move done, unless the Bentley has anything to say about it on the exit. Dip back down towards Graham Hill, and Velogia up into 3rd place. This would be a fantastic result for Vyacheslav if he is able to retain this place. He's not really had much standout performances over the season so far. And if we just take a look actually on the sim grid, yeah, only 12th and 8th place respectively for him, so a podium would be a fantastic result to kickstart what could be a resurgence maybe in terms of some good results. Maybe not a championship. You do have to hit the ground running in a championship. There's only 6 races long, 6 straight weeks as we head with round 3 now, and then we'll end the season on the 22nd of December. On that run up to Christmas. So not only do we get to look forward to opening your advent calendar every day, because I know I have. I woke up sort of about 4:30 this morning, just randomly woke up and I was like, hang about, it's the 1st of December today, I get to open my advent calendar. Got really excited, really childish, or maybe that's just me being 16 still and still getting really excited for Christmas. But you're never too old, never too old, really looking forward to it. But also get to look forward to every Thursday to be able to watch the Sim Racing Collective. Also, as an organisation, run a number of teams and a number of events, particularly, you know, most notably, recently the Britcar 24 Hours of Silverstone on Saturday. It was last Saturday. They had a pretty good start. Unfortunately, had to retire the car. They've also done a number of stuff on the sim grid. The 6 Hours of Suzuka did really well there. Kieran Sharp doing a fantastic job of driving the car around, and unfortunately, Matt Acton and Andrew Pike had to let the team down just a little bit. I mean, I say that he's had his fair share of incidents. Killed an MX-5, but we won't get into that because I want to keep my job. So Smokey a bit sideways on the exit of Graham Hill. Through in towards Surtees. And just trying to maintain that pace and keep that momentum up. That's the most important thing, particularly at a circuit like Brands Hatch. Momentum and things like that, you do have to sort of take a hop, skip and a jump all the way around, because one corner really does lead into another. If you mess up one, chances are you are going to mess up another. And tyre temps as well are a big thing around Brands Hatch. Not too long ago I was competing in a competition, and one of my main drawbacks was I was overworking the front right a lot, and I mean a lot. And it just kept overheating, and as soon as it overheated, it was at that point of no return. You really had to back off to cool it down, and it's so easy to overdrive the car here at Brands Hatch. The corners are so inviting. The best way to negotiate it is to just take a chill pill, step back and drive the car smoothly. One smooth input throughout the corner, no jabbing and trying to throw it in, trying to look all lovely and cool like Ayrton Senna or anything like that. The best way to negotiate the circuit: brake, turn, accelerate, all in one smooth progressive motion, and you will be fine. Because as I say, those tyre pressures, those tyre temps are so easy to get wrong, and it's difficult to bring them back into a pretty decent window. On board at the moment with Martin Blankenstein. He's at the moment against Jackson for what is at the moment for what is 6th, I believe, 7th. Yes, it's 6th in the AMS, 18th overall between the two of them. Martin Blankenstein, of course, took pole at Barcelona, and trying to be on a resurgence since then. This is Johnny McClory, the Irishman, versus Mulmada. This could be for 2nd place in the AMS. Indeed it is, between the pole sitter in the 23 BMW versus the 95 Irishman of Johnny McClory. Looking to the right hand side as they head in towards Westfield. This very quick right hander, very fun right hander as well. You dip your way back down. They've also got to look out for Troyer, Elias Troyer, just in the background there in that Porsche, ready to pounce if anything does go wrong. Also the McLaren of Lawford. They're on their way through Sterling's, this left-hander. 15 minutes left to go in race number 1. We cut our way back to the front because this is all kicking off now. We can see Davis, unfortunately, under fire from Davidson, who's having a bit of a look to the inside of Paddock Hill. He's trying to work his way back forward. Is the 42 towards Druids Bend, the uphill braking zone. You've got to be committed. I think Davis might have gone in a bit too deep. That's going to open the door for the Porsche to squeeze his nose through. Now side by side as they run downhill towards turn number 3. Chris Davis on the inside for P number 8, at least for now. P number 9, sorry, at least for now. There's Thompson going very wide forward stop. That's going to invite the likes of Southfield and Tremontley back through. And as they run in towards 30s, you can see there, that's Jack Southfield in the Team TSRC Aston Martin trying to get up the inside of Chris Davis for now what is 10th place, or he's going to soon be demoted to. There's Southfield up to 9th place. He's trying to do his best in race 1, qualifying ban for race 2, unfortunately. Now to the outside, oh my word, that is going to be brave. He's tapped him to the rear right. He's managed to keep it pointing in the right direction, but definitely a trip over the gravel trap and a lot of time lost, unfortunately, for Jack Southfield as they managed to continue on just about, but not in the most optimal of ways, and a knock of confidence for sure. Samuel Tremontley, we ride on board with him now in the Honda NSX. Good string of results for him, of course. Gets the drive off Sterling Bend towards the left-hand side now as he runs towards Clark Curve. Chris Davis has been under fire. He's put up a valiant defence, not quite good enough though, and it might be Davidson looking to the outside, or maybe getting the under over as they head down the pit not so straight. And now maybe looking to the inside. He's got to pull to the left-hand side of shot, to the right-hand side on track, of course. Not quite what he would have wanted, and he's gone in way too deep for the braking zone. So too has Davidson. So a joint effort between the pair of them. That's going to invite Marcinek and Southfield also through. Marcinek doing a fantastic job, leading the way in the AMs, putting up a good fight against some of the pros, and Davis really struggling off track once again for him. Is not optimal, suboptimal, as Lewis McGlade would say. Always coin that term. And here's Jack Southfield to the inside of Marcinek. This is not, of course, a full position, though Marcinek is treating it as if it is to the outside of Surtees. Again, not going to gain anything is either of these guys. Gain or lose, doesn't matter. They're in different championships. Yes, they're in the same race, but they're in different championships. Here's Billy Thompson. Oh, getting it all sorts of wrong through Hawthorne. Oh, that could have ended better for him, but to the outside of such a tricky corner, you're not... chances are you're not going to make that one stick. It's so difficult to get right, and yet so easy to get wrong. That risk versus reward just isn't worth it. And now Samuel Tremontley is eyeing up that move, though unfortunately nothing coming into fruition, at least for now. 12 and a bit minutes left to go in this race. We ride on board this fight for 8th. Where do I get 6th from? I do not know. It's for 8th. Tremontley versus Thompson, who himself did start a little bit further back in this race. Done well to climb back up towards the fringes of the top 10, though the result of this race does not matter in terms of influencing race 2. I know it works differently depending on what format you do. For this one, we reverse the championship standings for race 1. We'll then go into a qualifying session, 15 minutes I presume as usual, and then into a 25-minute race for race number 2. So plenty of action left for tonight. More racing action in terms of time than we actually get usually. We only get, of course, the 45-minute races usually, but now we get the 50 minutes total of racing. So, you know, that's not too bad. Not too bad at all. We cut back to this fight for now what is 3rd place in the AMS between Martin Blankenstein of the Dane versus Elias Troyer just in front in that Porsche. On the exit of Surtees, crucial to get a good run, of course. This is probably the most important corner arguably on the circuit because it leads you all the way down here. This downhill drop towards the inside of Hawthorns is going to be where the Mercedes is going to park that car, though. To the outside goes the Porsche. Elias Troyer really wants to hang on to that 3rd place and is doing so in spectacular fashion. Now in towards Westfield. Martin Blankensteiner again to the outside. Not really much you can do there. Has to tuck back into tow. And through Sheen. Again, Martin Blankenstein just putting the pressure on, really, because again, that is the thing. That is sort of all you can do when you're in a fight so closely locked as this. There is really all you can do. You know, put some pressure on, try and find a gap, force a mistake, whatever you can do. Try something different. Again, the definition of insanity is trying the same thing over and over and over again and expecting a different result. So what you have to do, especially at circuits that are difficult to overtake, try something different. Go for a move here, fake a move there, put some pressure on here, try and get closer here, brake a little bit later for here, get on the power earlier here, X, Y, Z, whatever it is. Try something different and it might just work. It might go completely wrong, but it's worth a try. It's better than doing the same thing over and over again and trying to get a different outcome because of it. Of course, if you are watching along on the live broadcast over on JP Broadcasting, do make sure to give the stream like, subscribe, turn notifications on, because there are a number of different series, a lot of racing action over the week here on James Parfitt Broadcasting, and a lot to sink your teeth into. We'll come back to that in just a second, because Tomasi and Dempsey are running side by side through Druids. And the other McLaren trying to get involved. I don't particularly think that is for position. Ivan Tomasi, though, there we go. Up into now what is 27th place. Yeah, if you are watching along, plenty of stuff to get your teeth stuck into. And if you are watching along now in the live chat, do give me sort of your live updates. You know, be the commentators yourself in that live chat. Tell me what you're thinking, what's going on. What would you do in this situation? Give me some feedback. Give me anything that you believe is relevant to comment on this race, even if it's just whatever. Let's get a bit of a chat going. Let's get some community involvement. Always great to see some good community involvement, because again, that is again in essence what sim racing is all about, is trying to bring a community of passionate people for virtual racing together, and 9 times out of 10 we are very successful at doing that, particularly in these sort of these sorts of leagues, these communities and things like that. Very successful, of course, in that unity. We were talking about it myself on the Butt Kicker 24 hours of Silverstone, because there was fantastic group involvement on that, and it really did bring the community close together, because it was just community run, and that is awesome. There's a number of events that have done that to really just try and unify the world of sim racing, because it is very easy to get into that competitive toxicness of, I want to win, so I'm not going to talk to you, or I'm not going to help you, or we're not going to be mates because we're rivals, or whatever. That's not the case at all. And for a lot of people, it is just a case of trying to enjoy something they are very, very passionate about. And for the majority of people, that is exactly what they do, which is what we love to see. Even here at JP Broadcasting, we always try and bring a happy, lively atmosphere, whoever we're commentating with. Of course, this is a bit of an anomaly because I'm commentating by myself, but you know, when I'm commentating with James Parfitt, the big man himself, or Dean Biggles, or whoever, we do try and, you know, bring that sense of friendship and whatever to a broadcast, try and liven things up a little bit, have a bit of a laugh, bit of banter, joke about what's going on, whatever we can do. Because again, it is, you know, if you leave a race with a smile on your face, if you're having a race with a smile on your face, then what more can you really ask for? Back to the race, 7.5 minutes left to go. We are 3/4 of the way through this race for race number 1 here at Brands Hatch, halfway point of this season, of course. And now what we have is Vyacheslav Volodya, P3 at the moment, trying to make it P2 with Quinten van Winkelen in a highest provisional finish of 2nd place at the moment, though the Tiger Racing team is looking pretty good to try and take 2nd place. Also got Nico Veldman and Guillaume Hamling just in the background as well. Through Westfield, you can see the number 7 using the full extremities of the circuit to try and close the gap. Volodya is on fire today, it must be said. I'll give it to him. Really delivering when you'll get given this opportunity, because you don't get reverse grids often. And when you do, when you can benefit off them, it is perfect for a driver to be able to seize that opportunity, take it with both hands, and just do your best to reel it back in. So we have Nico Veldman trying to put some pressure on Volodya, who is now in a bit of a pickle, it must be said. Is that Courtney, I think, just up the road? It might well be. So with 6.5 minutes left to go, only a couple of laps, only a handful of laps. But could we see Courtney dethroned at the front? There is Nico Veldman a little bit wide off the exit of Paddock Hill. Could allow the Lamborghini of Hamling to have a bit of a look. You definitely saw the Frenchman having a bit of a look. But now Volodya, as I said, in a bit of a pickle, being 2nd place in a multiple car train. You're having to have your hand forced, really, because the cars behind you are like, all right, mate, get a move on. Do something now. Otherwise, we're going to overtake you. You're forced into a sense of overtake or be overtaken, kill or be killed. And you have to deliver on those standards. Otherwise, you are just going to sink through the pack, because you've got Nico Veldman, you've got Guillaume Hamling ready to pick up the pieces if you can't deliver. So he has to prove himself, and unfortunately for him, he's made a very big mistake, gone very wide off the exit at Hawthorne. That's going to invite the Dutchman of Nico Veldman through Guillaume Hamling as well. Maybe even Sir Smoggy, a big mistake, completely tarnished the momentum of the Estonian. Now as they rise through Dingledale in towards Shinka, a very tricky corner, of course, but he's able to recollect himself and get back on top of his previous issues and continue on in this race. but unfortunately it might not be the potential second place he would have been hoping for as we approach the final 5 minutes of this race. It could be the likes of Nico Veldman and Guillaume Hamling released into the clutches of Quinten van Wingeren. This is also Sir Smokey looking to the outside of Paddock Hill Bend. You will have to excuse me, but it is going to be Vyacheslav Volodya that stays in front for now, going to the inside of Druids Bend. Now Sir Smokey back to the left-hand side. Is Volodya going to keep it nice and tidy? The answer to that is no. Neither of them are. A bit of contact between the two. Sir Smokey carries on, though Volodya tagged round, unfortunately for him. Rejoining the circuit, losing multiple places. This is the fight now just in front. You can see the likes of Eric Larson has gotten through now, side by side between himself and Bailey Thompson. Thompson on the outside going into Surtees, using that outside momentum. So Smokey with some heated up tyres and a nap of confidence, but able to keep it clean though, losing the place to Bailey Thompson, down now to 7th place. And an unfortunate mistake between the two Mercedes just a couple of corners ago. 4 minutes 20 seconds left to go in this race. And the action really has unfolded. It's been a very, very lively race indeed. Come back to Conor Courtney, the Irishman, leading pretty much this entire race since the start. Took the lead over our pole sitter, and then of course really hasn't looked back since, not being under much pressure, putting the laps in, though recently has been reeled in from the likes of Quinten van Wingeren, Nico Veldman and Guillaume Hamling now joining the train. But Courtney doing enough to stay in front, and that is of vital importance. You do have to just do enough. There's no point pushing unnecessarily if you don't need to. Come back to the fight for the AMS. They've got to have some coverage. The Lexus of Alex Skinner and, of course, Mormada just in front, fighting for what is, I believe, 6th place in the AMS as it stands. Alex Skinner in 7th to P20 overall. 7th place in the AMS versus Mormada. Entering the final couple of laps of this race, I think we're going to get 2, maybe 3 more. If it is, again, we'll just have to wait and see, play it by ear and see what the gaps are like compared to the time. And it's going to have a bit of a look. That's going to be a dive in towards Druids Bend. He's managed to get it stopped. Brilliantly done. Mormada sees him coming, tucks back into tow, tries to get the up and under. Outside line for Graham Hill. Though Alex Skinner does enough to park that Lexus in such a way that does not invite the BMW back through. So now doing a brilliant job. Is Alex Skinner up now into 6th place. Not really much he can do there from now. It's a bit of a ceiling he's hit and can't actually see the two McLarens in front of him of Jackson and Lawford. Come back to this fight. There they are, about half a straight in front of them, so not really much that Alex Skinner can do over the course of the final couple of minutes of this race. They're doing his best, is all he can ask for. He's still got race 2 to rely on as well. Quinten van Wingeren now really on the back. This could be the move for the lead. Bit of a look towards Druids. That's going to invite Veldman to the outside. He's later on the brakes on the left-hand side. Bit of a look to the outside. Gets left the room from the Dutchman, though not quite enough momentum in the swing of the Audi to catapult himself up in a 2nd place, though we now have a 4-way fight for the lead in the dying moments of race number 1 here at Brands Hatch towards Surtees again for one of the final times. Conor Courtney, the Irishman, doing a fantastic job, as I say, since the start of this race, though recently under now fire from Quinten van Wingeren, Nico Veldman, Guillaume Hamling, 3 very big names in this series, in this championship. And now it all comes down to this. Is it going to be a first win for Courtney? Is it going to be a first pro win for Van Wingeren, or for any of these guys in this season? We will soon find out. But now as they head in through Dingledale, up the hill through Sheen, Quinten van Wingeren has his wits about him. He's got to be aware of the pursuing Audi and, of course, the charging bull of the Lamborghini just in behind. But Conor Courtney using that bit of pressure that Veldman has put on Van Wingeren to just get away to an arm's reach. It is going to be the final lap as they cross the line now. White flag won't be waved. It's not iRacing, it's ACC, though it will be the final lap. One more lap here at Brands Hatch to decide the winner of race number 1, the reverse grid race, the first ever reverse grid race we've had in Season 2. Through Paddock Hill Bend for the final time. They tick down the corners, and each corner tick down is a opportunity lost for Van Wingeren, an opportunity lost for Veldman, an opportunity lost for Hamling. You have to say it's probably going to go the way to Courtney if they can keep it nice and tidy for the remainder of this lap. Though Van Wingeren, the lap of his life now is needed. Bit of a slide there from Veldman could invite maybe Hamling to have a bit of a look. Dumbing to the left-hand side as they run towards Surtees. That gap very quickly closing, though, unfortunately for the 351. Down through Pilgrim's Drop and up towards Hawthorne's Bend. Is the Lamborghini quite close enough? I don't think that is going to be the case, so maybe this could end all anticlimactically for what could have been a four-way fight for the race D, dissipating just a little bit because of differences in pressure and mistakes at different points. It could go the way of Courtney after all. One sector left to go, only a handful of corners left. We tick the clock down to 0. The checker flag is being waved. They await the arrival of our new race winner of the 21 Audi of Courtney. If that is going to be the case, 2 more corners left to go. Sterling and Clark for the Irishman of Connell Courtney. Quinton van Wingeren has done all he can. Bit of a slide on the exit of Sterling. You can tell how hard he is pushing. Maybe Veldman is going to have a look. Not quite enough momentum lost for the Dutchman to have a bit of a lock on his fellow countryman, but Connell Courtney out of the final corner at Clark. It could be a run to the line between the 2 Dutchmen of Nico Veldman. Connell Courtney takes the flag here at Brands Hatch, though who's going to be for second? Van Wingeren gets it by a hair ahead of Nico Veldman in third. Guillaume Hamling fourth. Eric Larson in P5. Then comes Bailey Thompson, Sir Smokey, Jamondley in Southfield. Then comes Davidson to round off your top 5. But Connell Courtney, a race winner here in the Sim Racing Collective GT3 PC Assetto Corsa Competizione Championship, season number 2, of course. And to round off the first half of the season, only now 4 races remaining. Connell Courtney ends it off in style. We, of course, still have to go to the qualifying session and then the final 25-minute race. Fernando Torres, not, of course, the famed football player, though fighting for what is the last fightable AM positions. It is going to go the way of McCrory, though, on this particular case, and Jackson unable to get in front of Torres. Just waiting for the final couple of cars to cross the checkered flag and take the line, or cross the line and take the checkered flag, I should say. Got the 2 words mixed up a little bit, but what we have to say is Mohammed, a debut pole for the 18, ended in misery for Wells, unfortunately for them, but also Derek Sun, big name, big championship leader, 2 pretty poor showings over the last 2 races at Misano and, of course, at Brands Hatch. He is going to get the 13th place reinstated and replaced with P31, but not a good showing, unfortunately, for the pole, who started the season off in spectacular fashion, really has to bounce back and get back on it. We are going to talk you through then the finishing order of race number 1 before we throw to a just a quick moment for me to have myself a bit of a breather. Then we'll go into qualifying. Connell Courtney takes the victory, 7/10 clear of Quinton van Wingeren and Nico Veldman, less than a 1/10 of a second separating the 2 countrymen as they cross the line. Guillaume Hamling P4 with Eric Larson, your top 5. Then comes Bailey Thompson in 6th, Smokey P7 and the fastest lap. Samuel Chamondley, Jack Southwood and Davidson, your top 10, with Velogia just in behind. Could have definitely been more for the number 7 Tiger Mercedes. Martinek just in behind to take victory for the AMS. Then comes Martin Blankensteiner back 4 seconds back to take second. Then comes Chris Davis, Elias Troyer 14th and 15th. Chris Davis, of course, is in the AM Pros, so won't be counted towards the AMS. So Elias Troyer rounds off the podium for the AMS. Lawford in P4, then comes Alex Skinner, your top 5. Mumada from pole, only P6 for him. Then comes Wright, just in behind Marston, McClory, Torres, Jackson, Bryan, the top 24 overall. Scroll down just to see the rest of them. You can see them there. Ivan Tomasi, Dempsey, Jones, Rodriguez, and then 3 DNFs of Mohammed, Wells, and Sun. That's going to round off the first half of this particular race event here for round 3 at Brands Hatch. I'm just going to give myself a moment to step away, take a breather, have a bit of a drink, and then we'll be back in just a moment's time for qualifying. We're back and into the 15-minute qualifying session then to prepare us for the second race here at Brands Hatch. They definitely have more of a say here for the grid of race number 2. I mean, they did in part have a say for the grid for race 1, but that's a different story because they could have just scored better in Barcelona, or scored worse in Barcelona and Misano to then start higher for Brands Hatch. But that's so backwards. Why would you do that? But anyway, my little ramble off. 14 minutes left of qualifying then, and of course we have 2 drivers, one of which is Jack Southfield taking a qualifying ban, so will not be able to set a time here for race number 2. So it is all about speed, momentum here at Brands Hatch. My most crucial qualifying session I did at Brands Hatch was a pre-qualifying session to get me into the grand final of the Rocket Race and Stars Formula 4 Esports Competition UK. Managed to get through into the top 8 finalists by 1/1000th of a second. So it can be very high stakes around Brands Hatch. So tricky to do, and it is one of those corners that you do just have to work some momentum up and try and get the tyres and everything into an optimal window just to hook that lap up, because it's so easy to take too much out of a corner. It's so easy to be too invited in and find yourself in a gravel trap, find yourself braking a bit too late. You do just have to drive with such a fluidity to go into each corner with elegance and just say, I'm going to brake here, turn here, get on the power here, and do it, as I said in race 1, in all one swinging progressive motion. Not to go, okay, brake, turn, and then very sort of lack of confidence, get onto the power at the apex. That's not the way you want to do it. You want to be able to say, I'm going to brake here, brake, spot your turn and in point, turn here, hit the apex, power, go. That's sort of the fluid motion you want to have. You don't want to take 20 different jabs at the steering wheel or anything like that. You just need to get zoned into a lap, focus on nothing else but what you're doing. If you're thinking about anything else, you're wasting brain power on what could be spent on hitting apexes. On a hot lap, you just have to be so tuned into the circuit. You have to have a feel of the car. You have to be so wired in to what you're doing. And a qualifying session at Brands Hatch, particularly of our circuits, is even more important than any other circuit. I mean, you know, we had Barcelona and Misano that didn't quite need such an important qualifying session. But as we see the first couple of laps coming in, we've got Samuel Mondley at 123.8, I believe, as he crosses the line. He'll be joined by Bailey Thompson at the front row at the moment. Then comes Derek Sun, trying to make amends for what was a poor showing in race number 1. At the moment, P3, but still a long way to go here in qualifying. Just looking for the tail end of a couple of drivers to sort of get their first laps in. We at the moment got all the way up to Brian for P13, but over half the grid left to go. There's Vyacheslav Velogic getting up into 6th place overall, 7th place, last of the AMs. No, last of the AMs? Last of the pros, or second last of the pro actually. We've got Chris Davis down there in 15th. Again, just experiencing, unfortunately, a couple of technical difficulties, which is a shame because we hardly ever see them. At least in my experience, I've never really had any issues. This is just one of those things that happen out of our control, unfortunately, but back in and with some crisp definition. Bailey Thompson at the moment leads the way. 23.070 is the benchmark for these drivers. Pretty respectable time, 2.5 tenths clear of Samuel Mondley, who himself is a very, very good qualifier. Mondley is only, sorry, if that did make a bang, I do apologize. I just smacked my knee on my desk, which wasn't pleasant, to say the least. But that's besides the point, because Davidson is only 3/1000ths of a second back off Chimondley. So doing a pretty good job, very close indeed. A short lap here, of course, at Brands Hatch, only 1 minute 23 seconds long. So you do have to make up the most of every corner you do have. We saw there Velogia getting up into 5th, Derek Sundermote to 4th after not putting in the most optimal of lap times for him, though anything will be better than his last 2 race results. I don't even think he managed to put a lap in at Misano, let alone a competitive one. So we see Chimondley exiting Clark Curve, and on this run to the line, retains 2nd place, not taking that jump up to the top spot just yet, though does improve on his lap time. This is Martin Bryan, currently quite far down in the AM standings. And as I say, guys, I did say halfway through race 1, if you are watching along, I don't bite. Don't be scared to jump in and have a bit of a chat in the YouTube chat. I do promise I don't bite. What were your thoughts of race 1? What are you thinking of qualifying? What do you think of that slide from Martin Bryan? Oh my word, that was mightily close to the oncoming Lexus. And that was very, very scary. Here's the, I'm going to guess, Colombian of Santiago Rodriguez, I think. Or is that Ecuador? Oh, I don't know. I'm testing my knowledge here. But the McLaren driver, the number 6 in the AMS at the moment. And on the run to the line, P26 overall. Is he going to improve on his previous best lap time and catapult himself up any more places? No, unfortunately, is the answer to that one. We approach halfway through this qualifying session with just over 8 minutes left to go. So Smoggy P8, uncharacteristic for the German, who comes into this race trying to take a step forward in terms of his championship campaign now into the second half of the season. We had 4 races for... Actually, no, we didn't. No, we did not. We had 3 races, and then we'll have 3 races. No, we won't. I'm having a bit of a blind moment here. Give me a sec. We had Barcelona and Misano and race 1 at Brands Hatch. Now I have race 2 at Brands Hatch, then round 4, 5, and 6. So we've actually not passed the second part of the season. I'm all over the place, guys. I don't even know what I'm talking about. Fire me. Get me out of the commentary. What on earth am I doing here? No idea what I'm talking about. That's besides the point. I'll try and get the wits about me, try and snap myself back up into shape. Probably just need a hot chocolate with some marshmallows in. Get right into the Christmas spirit. 1st of December. I was around my girlfriend's house and we were putting up the Christmas decorations, but I think it was a week after Halloween or something like that. So early on. But yeah, no, you just straight back into the Christmas spirit. I love it. I just love getting all giddy and excited for Christmas. I know I was talking about it in race 1, but it's just so true. I love it. It's great. I've got a lovely advent calendar this year as well. I've got a Reese's one. Never had a Reese's one. I always had like the little Poundland ones or whatever. Never had a proper posh one. So it was nice to wake up this morning and have some pure peanut butter gold ingested into my stomach. It was brilliant. But again, I will stop admiring Reese's for a moment and focus on the pretend race cars that we've got going on for the TSRC. Chris Davis, the Team Rookie Monsters car, who unfortunately came to blows, I think, a little bit earlier on with Rodriguez. You got a bit of a snap coming out of Paddock Hill, and Chris Davis, I think, had to take some pretty avoiding action in that Bentley. I don't know if it was him or anyone else, but it looked to be the case of that Bentley. It might have actually been a Lexus, but again, I'm not too sure. But he himself trying to improve. Same too with everyone. It's just same old really. Qualifying is going to be of vital importance. We saw it over the course of race 1. Moves can get done, but it is tricky. Paul Jackson taken to the off at the extremities of turn number 1 at Paddock Hill. And yeah, as I was saying, qualifying so crucial because we saw it in race 1, we saw overtakes and things like that, but it was tricky. People had to force them in unconventional places. It wasn't a case like Spa where you just send a move at the at Les Combes or at, I don't know, Circuit de la Sarthe, where you go for a move. We go for a move into one of the Mulsanne chicanes or whatever. You don't really have that at Brands Hatch. It's quite difficult to get a run down a straight and send a move under brakes, or to string a move through a chicane or anything like that. And actually thinking about it, I've just noticed Brands Hatch doesn't have a single chicane, which is interesting. I've never thought about it before. It's not actually like that big of a deal. I've just never thought about it before. But I mean, you've got Druids. Druids is probably the key overtaking opportunity off the circuit. Getting that run through Paddock Hill, dip down the hill, use that sort of where the G-forces then balance himself out to bring the car back into its own, get some grip back up, and then you rise up the hill. You can brake quite late because it is uphill braking. You can use gravity to assist you, and you can send the move down the inside of Druids. But even that's not foolproof. You can still go for a move around the outside. You can still get it wrong on the inside and go catapulting into the side of your rival. So is fairly difficult to get a move done. Oh, that's Ivan Tomosi getting a little bit scribbly. He's got Jones not directly in front of him. There might actually be Jones directly in front of him. It is a McLaren though. However, in terms of the time and tower, he's going to try and get ahead of the McLaren. Does so indeed. Now up into 7th place in the AMS provisionally for qualifying. Guillaume Hamling, we ride on board with the Lamborghini. I called him French in race 1, didn't I? He is Dutch, unless that's Luxembourg. I can't actually see the differing shades. Because I know Luxembourg has a lighter blue compared to the Netherlands. But he's Benelux, let's say that much. The Belgium, Netherlands and Luxembourg. The Benelux driver, there we go. Beautifully done. Then we can't get him wrong. 351. P6 at the moment, not too far back off the fringes of the top 5. Very close, really. Those are the standout names. It's actually Davidson that has taken the provisional pole off of Thompson for the time being, entering into the final couple of laps here in qualifying. Guillaume Hamling, where's he going to get himself up into? Is it 5th place? No, it's not. He retains in 6th, rounding off the 3rd row of the grid, at least provisionally. Our winner in race 1, languishing back in 16th overall, behind 6 of the AMS. Big improvements needed to be made from Conor Courtney to be able to get the stride and maybe continue that momentum through into race 2, up to 13th overall, but still 3rd slowest in the AMS for them. Bailey Thompson, 2nd place at the moment, not too far back off Tom Davidson. 122.985 is the benchmark, and you can see there a 123 dead for Bailey Thompson. Not much in it at all. All it takes is the most marginal improvements, that you get to a point where it's these marginal improvements that take so long to get. It's easy to make seconds, but so difficult to make thousands. And that sounds so backwards, but when you think of it, of when you learn a track, you do your first lap, you go again, you learn, you refine, you build up that confidence, and you gain seconds, and then you gain tenths, and then you get to a point where you plateau a little bit, and you start only getting thousandths at a time, because you're refining and you're waiting just for that perfect lap to switch on. Because it doesn't matter how well you know a track, if you're not switched on, if you don't hook up the lap, you are going to not be truly representative of your pace. So you do just have to wait for that opportunity where everything goes right, and you just hook up a lap where you feel so good. As we see Cholmondeley out of nowhere in the Honda, quickly topped by Bailey Thompson to pole position of 22.840, I believe is the benchmark now. Samuel Cholmondeley's provisional pole was very short-lived for the 111, because here comes the Mercedes of Bailey Thompson, really showing. And now into the final 2 laps of qualifying with 1 minute and 35 seconds left to go. Is there going to be any further improvements for our top guys? Conor Courtney up to 12th overall, so marginal improvements step by step, climbing up the time and tower. In terms of the AMS, Martin Blankensteiner leads Marcinek for the AM front row. Of course, we won't have a split start. It will just be one continuous grid. Though looking at that championship, Martin Blankensteiner not doing too bad at all. Finished quite well over the course of race 1 as well. And we've got 40 seconds now left of qualifying. Samuel Cholmondeley trying to set himself up for a lap, I think, just taking a breather, slowing down, breathing, and then going for more. At least that's what it looked like. Maybe he is still on a push lap. Maybe he might set the pole standard. Across the line, is it going to be the case? Not quite. Pushing on then, final lap in qualifying, 23 seconds left on the clock. Samuel Cholmondeley tried to get pole, got it for about the extent of about 5-10 seconds before Bailey Thompson said, nah mate, this is mine. So a battle of the Titans between some big names in this series. Thompson, Cholmondeley, Davidson, Sun, Smokey, your top 5. Guillaume Hamling is 6th as well. They are sort of the top 6 you expect to deliver week in, week out. Could we have an upset? Could we have some surprises? The qualifying timer tick 0. We run now to the checkered flag. People are on their final laps. Fortunately, ACC do let you finish your laps. They are nice like that. They're not like iRacing. As soon as the clock strikes 0, you're gone. That's it. You get to finish your lap. Martin Blankenstein, a P8 overall, P1 for the AMs. There, so Smokey getting it a little bit too wide off the exit of Hawthorne. So, and again through Westfield. So not really what the German would have wanted for his final lap. Though still P5, respectable. And still the opportunity to move forward as the race progresses. Any more upset? Davidson's Son both in for the second row. They seem to be quite locked in, unless Sir Smokey can have any say despite the mistakes. I don't think that is quite going to be the case. Is it going to be the battle for pole? Just over a tenth separate the two of them. Thompson versus Cholmondeley. We'll wait for them to finish the laps. It's only second for Cholmondeley, so Thompson is going to take pole position. Smokey only stays 5th, waiting for the likes of Guillaume Hamling. Here's Chris Davis, P17 overall, behind some of the AMs as well. And now on the run to the line, doesn't quite manage to improve, and that brings an end to this qualifying session. We head in towards race 2 in just a second. We'll go through the grid order as soon as we get it. But that was a pretty enthralling qualifying session with Bailey Thompson taking the pole position. He'll be joined by Samuel Cholmondeley to his left-hand side. On the front row of the grid, Davidson and Son 3 and 4. So Smokey round off the top 5. Guillaume Hamling rounds off the P6 with the third row of the grid. Eric Larson and Martin Blankenstein, a pole for the AMs, will be your 4th row with Volodya and Marcinek. The top 10, Van Vingen and Courtney will round off on the 6th row alongside each other as they run towards Paddock Hill Bend for the first time. Then comes Wright, Jackson, Skinner, Marston, just in behind them. The string of 4 AMs all together. Chris Davis, P17 overall. Then comes Ivan Tomasi and Jones in P18 and 19. Mohammed rounds off the top 20 with Elias Troyer and Lawford, P21 and 22. Then comes McClory and Mulmada with Brian rounding off the top 25. Then comes Wiles, Rodriguez and Veldman, who was able to put in a good lap time. That is a pretty big shame for the Dutchman, finishing in P3 overall. In race number 1, he's got his work cut out for him to move forward. Then comes Jack Southfield, Dempsey and Torres, I believe, serving qualifying bans. And now we only have 1 minute until the green flag waves us around for the formation lap to signal us underway for race number 2. 25 minutes in length, similar to race 1. I'll be back in a sec.
Seconds.
Back then, ready for the formation lap here for race number 2. If you are only now just joining us, it is Bailey Thompson that took pole position after the 15-minute qualifying session. Samuel Cholmondeley will join him on the front row, followed by Davidson and Son at the second. Smokey rounds off the top 5 with Guillaume Hamling just in behind. Then comes Eric Larson and Martin Blankenstein, a pole for the AMs. Great result for the 96. Same too with Marcinek, who took second place in the AMs, to round off your top 10. And sandwiched in between the two of them is the Estonia Vyashlev for Volodya in P9. Don't have quite the time to walk through the entirety of the grid order, though what we can say is we predict this to be some epic racing as we saw over the course of race 1. Though now what we have is more of a representative idea of pace. Of course, race number 1, we had the whole grid reversed in terms of championship positions and things, this, that, and the other. People not exactly on course to be where they want to be on track. They weren't maybe with the people they wanted to be. They got caught up in incidents, caught up behind other cars. Now everyone's kind of where they should be, right? So we've got Bailey Thompson doing pole, Cholmondeley only a couple of tenths back in qualifying. He's up there. So these two, no one else really to worry about in terms of overtaking them in front of them. They've got no one to work through. There is just going to be a head-to-head fight between the pair of them, which is, fingers crossed, going to deliver some even more great action. 25 minutes left on the clock, of course. That is no pit stops. And a straight fight to the finish. What is crucial now is to get those tyres up to temperature. We are seeing track optimal conditions with a slight bit of wind to the northwest. 1 kilometer, but only a marginal thing, so not really much to be affecting the circuit or the cars at all. Of course, nothing what we saw last time out at Misano, which was pretty much a downpour and very tricky conditions. So back now to bone dry, and that is a very matte black livery of Bailey Thompson. I do like it because while it is quite matte, it does look quite glossy and does reflect in some way. The lights are coming on for these guys as we approach 4:04 p.m. Game time for the UK, and you can see Cholmondeley lining up now to the left-hand side of Thompson. We get ourselves ready to go underway. Very, very slow on this build-up towards Clark Curve. Thompson to the right, Cholmondeley to the left. 60 kilometers an hour for all of the cars, ready for the green lights to go. We'll signal them underway for the short run towards Paddock Hill Bend. 25 minutes on the clock, a lot of championship implications to set us underway for the second half of season number 2. Who's going to come out on top? We get ourselves ready. The adrenaline pumping. The green flag soon to be waved to signal us underway for race number 2. You can see the lights there. They're gone out. The green flag waved. We're underway and side by side already. 2 wide. So many rows deep as we see Cholmondeley looking to the left-hand side as they run their way out of Paddock Hill Bend. Is Cholmondeley going to have the measure? Late on the brakes, side by side between Davidson and Sun for third as well. In the background, you can see the Honda trying to go to the outside of Druids Bend. There goes Derek Sun up onto the podium, at least for now, down the inside now of Tom Davison in towards Graham Hill. Bit of rubbing racing as they run their way through. Emerging in front does the pole. A good start for Bailey Thompson to remain in front of the Honda NSX in towards 30s for the first time to round off the first sector. David Jones, I believe, has got a drive through for speeding on the start initiation process, which is very unfortunate. Not the way you want to start this race by any means, but they barrel their way down the Pilgrim's Drop towards Hawthorne Bend, and it is still Bailey Thompson that leads. We're on board with Derek Sun at the moment, P3, trying to bridge the gap to his fellow Honda and the leading Mercedes, who's using a mighty amount of clip angle going through Westfield, really pushing the limits to get this race underway, get it rolling very, very quickly. And looking a bit further down, we saw Volodya get up into 8th place. This is John Dempsey looking to the inside of Alex Skinner. Oh my word, so close to contact, even so making some. And the McLaren goes off sideways near towards the barrier, and that is not great for him at all. Gets overtaken by Jones as well. And of course by Fernando Torres. We back up to the front because what we're seeing is on the exit of Clark Curve, Sir Smokey putting Davidson under a world of pressure. Good qualifying, not quite a good start though for the 42 Porsche. And in towards Paddock Hill. So Smokey close, not quite close enough though on this particular occasion. The top 3 are starting to break away and bridge that gap. So Smokey wants to avoid falling into the trap of getting stuck behind the Porsche. Bit of a look to the inside of Druids Bend, gets given the space. Bit of contact, so Smokey sideways. Hamling having to slam onto the anchors. That might invite Eric Larson to the outside of Graham Hill. That's not quite going to work unless it is. He's going to use the outside momentum onto the grass though from the Lexus, pushed on by the Lamborghini, who's now found himself into the barrier. Here comes Vyacheslav Volodya looking to the inside. There is the Bauer Motorsport Lamborghini, unfortunately pulling off to the left-hand side and retiring from this race. A premature end to what could have been a great race. Great race for Graham Hamling. Unfortunate, but it does happen. Bit of contact made with the Larson trying to go to the outside of Graham Hill. It wasn't really on. They were making a bit of contact and was sent careering into his good old mate of Barrier. Still this fight though raging on for first. This is something that we're going to have to follow throughout the race. The narrative, I'm sure, that's going to start to unfold and develop as we go through the 22 minutes and 20 seconds left of this race. And you can see the 111 following Bailey Thompson in. So not really much opportunity to use that slipstream at a circuit like Brands Hatch because you're not on full throttle for very long. You've got the Pilgrim's Drop towards Hawthorne and of course the pit straight. But apart from that, you're not on the throttle for any more than sort of 5-10 seconds. before you then have to slam back onto the anchors. This is Quinton van Wingeren versus Jack Southfield, both of the pair of them making some steady progress through the field. And this is the Nissan looking to the right-hand side as they break for turn number 1 at Paddock Hill Bend. The Nissan GTR now up in front of Brian for 16th place. Jack Southfield, you can see they're just in front in that Aston Martin Team TSRC, representing for the organisation and league themselves. And that Aston Martin doing a mighty good job. I know it is Matt Acton's favourite, essentially because Aston Martin's sort of that old dude's posh man's car. So of course fitting Acton's, or at least one of Matt Acton's personality traits perfectly, the old man part. And I will take any opportunity, I'm sure Angie Pike's watching along and laughing to it. I'll take any opportunity to slay a bit Matt Acton. He's done nothing wrong, it's just the running gag that we've got in sort of the admin chat to take the mickey out of Matt Acton, the poor sod. This is Paul Jackson doing himself no favours in the McLaren. P3 overall in the AMS and losing a ton of places to the likes of Veldman, Mohammed, Southfield, Van Wingeren. Crucially for him, it's going to be like some McCrory, Skinner and Bryan working their way through. So P3 very quickly turning into what could be maybe outside of the top 10 in the AMS if he's not careful. Back to the front, Derek Sun versus Samuel Tremontley. They are very, very close to our top 3. The track does start to gloom. There's Andrew Pike in the chat. I can see him. Knew he was here. He's always watching along. Let Grandad have it, indeed, indeed. Bless him. I do feel bad because again he's done nothing wrong to me. I've never actually spoken to him, and all I do is take the mickey out of him. Part of me feels bad. The rest of me just thinks it's funny. But yeah, poor sod. It's fine. Andrew Pike gets his fair share of the stick as well. Particularly when he doesn't prepare me any race facts to go through. And by race facts we mean race jokes. Something that sounds factual, however is not, and is probably being fairly mean to some people, because we retain 100% professionalism over here in the commentary booth of the Sim Racing Collective. But that's besides the point. That's something that we don't disclose in broadcast. That's to ourselves. Thank you very much. Our professionalism can wait another day. So too can Derek Sun's laundry, because he is he's gonna want to change of pants after that one. Brown pants moment for him. And a bit of a slide on the exit of Sterling. Getting a bit sideways, not losing too much time. You don't want to speak to him, he will rip you to shreds. I don't doubt it. But again, he is the granddad, he'll have to get up and catch me first, which is easier said than done. Alex Skinner versus Johnny McClory for 3rd place in the AMS. The Lexus versus the BMW then, as they once again through the pit straight and towards Paddock Hill Bend. The BMW Irishman looking to promote himself into P3. Is there the move to the right hand side? There's a BMW flying to the left hand side of the circuit. I don't know if anyone caught that or if it was just me, but there was a BMW flying through the trees. I don't think it was an actual car per se, more so just a figment of our imaginations. I'm going to look at it. I've got the broadcast to the right hand side of me. I'm just going to see if that actually happened or not, while also trying to keep a second eye on the actual live action itself, because this fight could materialise at any moment. They're now running their way through Paddock Hill for me, and did that actually happen, or am I just losing my mind? No, it did happen. There's just a UFO of a BMW flying into the trees. That is bizarre. Didn't know BMW had a space program, but here we are. Johnny McClory still putting some pressure on Alex Skinner, as we say, for the final place on the podium for the AMS. Bit wide from the Lexus. Taking 2 wheels to the grass on the exit of Sheen Curve. Losing just a little bit of time does Johnny McClory. Not able to fabricate a move on this particular occasion, so another lap ticks by for him. And now the Irishman just trying his best to close that gap. Versus Alex Skinner. A little bit further up, we've got Martin Blankenstein who did a fantastic job leading the way for the AMS, followed closely by Marcinek. 1.2 seconds back between the pair of them, but Blankenstein are putting some pressure on Volodya. for 7th place overall. Of course, they are in 2 different races. No championship sort of points on offer for Blankensteiner. No championship points lost for Volodya, though it is nice as an AM to be able to fight amongst the pros, and he's not actually doing too bad. He'd be sort of mid-pack in the pros if he was a pro, so definitely a good race for the Dane. Looking to the front fight though, spread out just a little bit between Bailey Thompson, Samuel Cholmondeley and Derek Sun. About a second between each car. 8/10 is the gap between Cholmondeley and Sun, though Bailey Thompson able to get himself up outside of the 1 second range. Oh, Andrew, that's harsh. That is very harsh. Funny, but harsh. I'm not even into football, and I still feel bad for Schlatter for that one. And he's very proud of himself. The away lads. He's happy. Definitely Andrew quite happy. But yeah, a lot of surprises I've seen in the World Cup. Not been following football too closely, but yeah, no, a couple of interesting ones. Of course, the Welsh got battered, so apologies for any Welsh. Though we have to give the Welsh some credit, because at least they're here, unlike the Scots and the Northern Irish as well. So at least they're doing something for the UK, I suppose. I mean, there's that. Always it's always fun commentating with David Christie. I don't know if anyone has heard of him. He's not, particularly a spotlight commentator. He's a nice lad, fun to commentate with. He's Scottish himself, and I always take any opportunity I can, because he was talking just yesterday about how the strains of being in a championship fight or being in an important competition, and how difficult it can be to fight for a championship. I completely agreed with him, though. I did have to just throw in the little dig of, I mean, you are Scottish, so you're probably not the best person to talk about that sort of thing. And he was laughing, he loved it, though deep down he had a hole torn through his soul. Back to the action though, because yeah, we have still got a race on. 14, just under 15 minutes left to go. In it, 2 Mercedes between Martin Blankensteiner and Vaishnav Volodya, the Estonian, just in front. As I say, no championship points on offer, more so just pride and overall position. Evening body from Jack, lovely. I do love the running gag in the Sim Racing Collective. It's just awesome. But Blankensteiner keeping Volodya there. This is side by side between Jack Southfield and Chris Davis. Managed to get himself up into P10 overall, P8 of course in the pro standings. There's also Nico Veldman just in behind him, so a good fight materialising here. Jack Southfield catapulting himself through the field, of course started back down in sort of P27 right at the back of the field because of that qualifying ban. Up now inside the top 8 for the pros, top 10 overall as I said. And this is Nico Veldman putting some pressure on Chris Davis for P11. So between the pair of them, starting quite far down in the order and really working their way through quite well. Nico Veldman getting a good run off Sterling. Is there going to be a move towards Clark Ben, or is he just going to have a little bit of a back out moment? He is going to indeed, though. A little bit deep goes Chris Davis. Could allow Nico Veldman to get the drive. They're running a little bit wide, having to wrestle the car back to the right hand side of the circuit to close the distance of that final little kink. Then of course bringing it back to the left for the outside line to give you the race line for Paddock Hill. Dip back down. The track really does level up quite quickly. Here's the send maybe from Nico Veldman under brakes. He's going to try and make this one stick. Gets given the space by the Team Ricky Monsters Bentley. And are they going to emerge side by side? Veldman is ahead and swings the car up into what is now P11 overall. Calm down, children in the YouTube chat. I can see you both. Taking the mickey out of poor little Jack. Quite literally, I suppose, if that's what you're insinuating at. Yeah, no, Jack Southfield, if that is the good old Jack that you are talking about, at the moment he's running quite well. So he might barely be able to see over the windscreen, but he's able to turn the steering wheel and push the pedals quite well. Catapulting himself, as I say, from the back of the field all the way up now into the top 10 overall, and only a couple of seconds back off the next place. Of Volodya. Just seen the latest YouTube comment, which is fantastic. I won't dwell on it too much, but yeah, no, lovely. Do love that. Brilliant. Yeah, nothing more to say on that one really. Do they have the little sticker? Do they get any mention? Do they get sort of the made in China equivalent on the booster seat? He's got rid of that one very, very quickly. Fair enough. There's going to be someone that's going to be a little bit upset about that one. So Smokey on the back of Tom Davidson, who himself is on the back of Derek Sun for P3, really dropped off the back of Samuel Cholmondeley, who himself has just got the fast lap of the race, reclosing that gap versus Bailey Thompson, with now just over 10 minutes left to go in this race. 11 minutes, 36 seconds left. Better remove that before YouTube ban me, probably. Here's Jack Southfield on the back of Marcinek down in towards Hawthorne. I don't think this is going to be particularly hard fought by the Bentley. Hitting the apex quite nicely, using the full extent of the circuit, even a little bit more as they dip some wheels onto the grass. Through Westfield, is Southfield interested in sending this move? I don't think so. Not necessarily because if it's a championship position, more so just to try and get onto the back of people that actually do quote-unquote matter in his championship. Now to the outside line for Sterling. This has been quite hard fought by Marcinek, which is to the surprise of myself and probably to Jack Southfield as well. And he's going to get a little bit annoyed, is Jack Southfield. Can barely see as it is, and any more grass kicked up onto that windscreen is not going to be suboptimal for, is not going to be optimal for his vision, I should say. Marcinek putting up a mighty defense though. Now ticking down into the 10-minute mark. Left to go in this race. Here comes the move from Southfield, putting it to the right-hand side. Braking quite late in towards Druids. Gets the move done. P9 overall now for the Brit. Continuing on, Nico Veldman also following him in tow, trying to use the lack of momentum that Jack Southfield creates for his opponents to then capitalise on it himself. This is the fight for third. Derek Sun, Tom Davidson and Sir Smokey fighting over the final step on the podium. And you can see there's the McLaren just in front, not quite Samuel Cholmondeley. That is to the extent of about 4 seconds up the road. Bailey Thompson keeping Cholmondeley at an arm's length back though, at least for now. They run their way through into the final portion of this race. The McLaren darting off the circuit to try and get out of the way of these people fighting for the podium. He doesn't not want to be that guy. They run out of Sterling towards Clark and very, very close indeed. Through Clark and already on the defensive is Derek Sun. Very, very close indeed is the Porsche. Bumper to bumper to bumper really are our fight for third. You can see now Sir Smokey pulling to the left-hand side, down in towards Paddock Hill Bend. This is forcing Tom Davidson to try and send the move side by side between the pair of them. There's the Mercedes of Sir Smokey trying to keep his nose ahead. Outside line once again for Druids. Tom Davidson having to stick to the inside, braking very late, able to get ahead and consolidate that fourth place for now. But again, being second place in this train of three forces his hand, forces his initiative to make that move stick on Derek Sun, because as we've seen, any lapse of judgment, any lack of momentum from Tom Davidson allows Sir Smokey to try and capitalise on that as best he can, and that is definitely a sign of vulnerability. As soon as Tom Davidson doubts himself, as soon as he doesn't go for the move, as soon as he loses a bit of time, Sir Smokey there to pick up the pieces and at least attempt it. So Tom Davidson knows his job is to get onto the podium as soon as possible, put that car in between himself and the German, who himself is definitely not going to be very happy. Speaking of Germans, Andrew Pike, I knew it was probably coming from you. Tom's livery is awesome. I do love a good livery. I think it just blends so well with the car. It flows very, very nicely. And the Porsche is just a lovely looking car in general. It's so nice. I do love Porsches. They are just pretty snazzy, to say the least. It's just so sleek. The rear wing blends so well with the car. They're just nice cars. And they're running quite well in this race as well. Soon maybe to be third place. Tick off another lap here for race 2. Tom Davidson unable to go for the move. Same too with Sir Smokey. Oh, bit sideways though from Derek Sun. Invite both of them through. Tom Davidson, Sir Smokey up to third and fourth respectfully. Now Derek Sun. Oh, that is unfortunate for the pole, who now down to fifth. Releasing the likes of Tom Davidson to stretch his legs, stretch the advantage out in front, though he's not going to be allowed that opportunity too easily from the likes of Sir Smokey, though Derek Sun, big bottle in that sense, bit sideways off the exit of Paddock Hill Bend. So now as they run their way through, you can also see the gap at the front between Bailey Thompson and Samuel Cholmondeley. 1.7 seconds. Big gap. Continuing to grow by about sort of a couple tenths a lap. So Bailey Thompson, again, as I say, trying to do his best to keep Cholmondeley at an arm's length away. There in his mirror still is Cholmondeley, so the pressure is still on for Thompson, but doing enough just to say, I can kind of relax. I'm not under an intense firing squad. I'm not, you know, being battered and being forced to defend, constantly look over my shoulder. He's, you know, he's comfortable. He can chill. He can focus on himself, constantly look forward. Here comes Jack Southfield. Eyes on Volodya. We're hearing from his team radio. Up now into 8th place overall. Gets past the AM leader of Martin Blankenstein. And now eyes on that Tiger. The Predator quickly becomes prey. Does that Mercedes. And now Jack Southfield eyeing up the number 7 in P7. On a charge is the young Brit, the 64 Aston Martin. Down the hill towards Graham Hill. Jack Southfield is just on such a charge. Really prancing in that Aston Martin. Through Surtees. And wow. What a showing it has been from Jack Southfield. Really impressed. Not quite being, you know, quickest in terms of pace because he hasn't quite got this fast lap, though the consistency that he's shown, the prowess he's shown to carve his way through the field definitely deserves him driver of the day, particularly in race 2, of course. On the exit of Sterling. Through into Clark. Closing the gap, it gets to a point where you do stalemate. You get to a point where you can't close the gap as efficiently. There's also Nico Velbin to the outside of his of the Mercedes. That is of Martin Blankenstein, of course, the AM leader. So Nico Velbin following in Southfield's footsteps. Trying to use him again as a stepping stone up the field. James Wright on the back of Martin Bryan. This fight for what is P5 in the AMS. A bit sideways. Oh my word, that's the McLaren heading himself into the barrier. James Wright was probably laughing as he saw that one. But able to avoid the spinning McLaren. 4 minutes left in this race, then only a handful of laps left to round off race number 2. Into the pit lane comes Derek Son. What's happened here then? Running quite well in P5 into the pit lane. And that is unfortunate for the pole. Gone from bad to worse. Started the season off so strong with that victory at round number 1. Fell off 13th in Misano. Don't think he even finished race 1 here at Brands Hatch. He's not going to finish race 2 either. Maybe a crash or something along those lines for him, but that is such a shame. Going to promote the likes of Volodya and Southfield up an extra place. Same too with Larson and everyone else behind them. Southfield all over the rear end of this very stripy Mercedes. Did you hear about the Magic McLaren? It turned into a barrier. Brilliant. Brilliant. I do love that. I just gagged on my own saliva. You're swallowing as you made me laugh. That was brilliant. Love that, Andrew Pike. Top quality stuff. That's rare for you. That's brilliant. Besides the point, you wonder, kids. Jack is all over the back of Volodya. His target for the evening. Volodya going a little bit wide under pressure from the 64. Also, Andrew Pike, I am definitely using that in a future broadcast. Thank you so much. I will not reference you or credit you at all, though I will reference it. Thank you. Through Sterling, as we quickly change topic. 2.5 minutes left to go, race 2. 4:27 PM track time. And this fight for 6 does rage on because you don't really have one materialising further in front. Bailey Thompson 2.5 seconds clear of Cholmondeley, who himself is 6 seconds clear of Tom Davidson. This fight also fighting for P5 in the AMS between James Wright and Martin Bryan. Dingledale and then Sheen. Most tricky but fun corner on the circuit. Once you get it right, Dingledale and Sheen, that sequence is just so pinpoint precise. There's the move from Jack Southfield, up now ahead of the Estonian. And what was Southfield's target now has become accomplished, though under threat as he heads in towards Surtees. Volodya not letting him go easy, trying to get the run through Surtees, then down the Pilgrim's Drop towards Hawthorne. This back straight has got to be crucial, though he's under pressure from Nico Veldman, who's still using Jack Southfield to propel himself up the field to the best of his ability. There are 3 cars all in this train. Jack Southfield clearing off into the distance relative to the 2 behind Veldman. Playing second fiddle really to Jack. Bit of a sideways moment for the Tiger Racing Team Mercedes. Any move in towards Clark? Not on this occasion. 1 minute left. We head on to the final lap of this race then, ladies and gents. Oh my word! Nico Veldman. That was so unexpected. Big off for him. And heading into the gravel trap, I don't think he had too big of an incident into the barrier, but still a strange snap. Snap once, snap back, and of course with the TC and things gripping back up into things and making the car grip again, his corrections quickly turned into actual inputs on the car and sent him straight into the barrier. And sees him now P10 in the overall standings behind Blankensteiner and Marcinek, not losing much in terms of points in terms of the pros, because he is still P8 overall in that sense. Though unfortunate for the Dutchman, because yeah, that is an interesting development. The irony of the skill issue ban underneath that accident is wonderful. I'm going to take another look as we ride on board, because yeah, that was just weird. It was just, he got one, as his rear left was onto the grass a little bit. Not enough, really, I wouldn't expect to cause damage. But we'll talk about that in a sec, because here comes Bailey Thompson from pole to flag. Takes the flag, takes the victory here for race 2 at Brands Hatch for the TSRC. Round number 3 at Brands Hatch. Samuel Tremondley follows in 3.5 seconds later for second. Then comes Tom Davidson in the Porsche to take third place. Smogy a couple of seconds after that for fourth. Then comes Eric Larson to round off the top 5. And yet again, another spinning McLaren. But yeah, Nico Veldman, interesting incident for him. Jack Southford, a 6th place. What more could he have asked for this race today? He done a brilliant showing from the back of the grid. Very deserving and taking a lovely little drift through Paddock Hill Bend on the cooldown lap. This is Connell Courtney, P12 for them after winning race number 1. Unfortunately, not quite close enough to go for the move on Chris Davis towards the end. Quinten van Bingeren now only P13 overall. Then comes Mohammed to round off the pro field. Alex Skinner will take 3rd place in the AMS, because it was Martin Blankensteiner and Marcinek, your top 2 for the AMS. And here comes Fernando Torres. Johnny McCrory just a few seconds in front of him will take the flag first, or will he? No, he will. He will. It's just not showing that he's taken it. He's probably managed to complete another lap. Or actually, no, McClory's into the pit lane, which is interesting. So he's going to fall down a couple of places. Martin Bryan, followed by Dempsey and Troyer. Martin Bryan up to 18th place now. So we'll run through the final finishing order in just a second. But that is going to conclude race number 2 here, ladies and gents, for what has been the split racing action for round number 3, taken away from our usual format. And as we take a look at the timing sheets for race number 2, it was Bailey Thompson that took victory. A dominant lights to flag victory, it must be said, was under no pressure whatsoever. 3.5 seconds back comes Samuel Tremondley and Tom Davidson to round off the podium places. Then comes Sir Smogy and Eric Larson. A quiet place for him in the Lexus. They were top 5 nonetheless. Jack Southfield from the back to the front in P6. Václav Volodya just in behind in P7. Then comes the victor for the AMS, the Dane of Martin Blankensteiner, the 96 ahead of Marcinek in the 27. Bentley for P9 overall, P2 in the AMS. Nico Veldman rounds off the top 10. Chris Davis, Connor Courtney, P11 and 12. P12 with Quinten van Wingeren and Mohammed rounding off the pro field. Alex Skinner P3 rounds off the podium for the AMS with Fernando Torres and right in behind. Then comes Martin Bryan and Dempsey with Elias Schroyer rounding off the top 20 overall. Then comes McClory finishing the race in the pit lane, P20 overall for him. Wells, Rodriguez, Tomasi and Hamling, those that you can still see on the timing sheet, and I believe that is the final running order for what we saw. That was Brands Hatch. That kicked off and ended the final, the final part of the first half here of season number 2 for the TSRC GT3 PC Series. What a race that was. You'll join us in a week's time, December number 8th, for round number 4 as we take to the Temple of Speed at the Monza circuit. After that, we'll go to Indianapolis and Spa-Francorchamps to round off the season on the 22nd of December. I, for one, am very much looking forward to it. My name has been Zach Sweeney. I've been talking you through all the action here in the commentary booth over on the JP Broadcasting YouTube channel. Do give it a like and subscribe. Turn the bell on for notifications as well to follow your way through any live racing action we have in the world of sim racing. But if that is all we're going to see of you tonight, we'll definitely take care and see you soon. Fingers crossed we'll see you in a week's time. Same time, of course, 8 p.m. BST. Well, not as BST anymore, is it? It's GMT because we've changed it. British time, whatever it is, 8 p.m. Here in the UK. We'll see you in a week's time. But until then, take care and see you later.